Okay, we're ready to go. So welcome everybody, and we're going to go through doing end of year process for payroll, and a little bit we'll go into the features along the way of what's coming up in the versions that you'll be receiving. But the main aim is to go through how to actually perform your end of year payroll close. So the main thing with this version is that you will need to be upgrading your payroll system to the latest version, because there are, again, of course, ATO requirements for your normal changes to the ETP, and hopefully everybody's done their child support and the super contributions. But the main thing also is in this one is the new FBT that is now separating out the FBT, the exempt types, and also the working holiday makers with their special tax rates, plus new payment summaries to deal with those requirements. We'll have a look at a checklist of what we need to actually cover for doing an end of period. And there is actually a feature within the system of closing the period, but we'll come to that in a moment, and then we'll cover the what requires updating, and then some of the features that we actually have within the new release. So, with the requirements for the FBT and working holiday makers, you are going to have to upgrade to get the features of those two new components so that you can then produce the payment summaries. For the setup for the fringe benefits tax, there is an area which, if your business does have exempt FBT, then you will have to turn the feature on, and that will allow for the check boxes on the payment summaries. The other thing that will have to happen is when you go to actually pay an employee any of these exempt fringe benefits, you will need to also tick within that non-cash benefit the exempt from fringe benefits tax. What this results in is the payment summary will give a H for the working holiday makers. The standard payment summary should only have an S in it, and that will, I think the majority of you will have an S. And this exempt from fringe benefits tax component tick boxes will be there as well, and I presume the majority will have a no within that. The other area that's really important is the actual export. Now, the export file for your payment summaries will actually be a PSAR file, not what we're used to as the EMP-tube file. So if by chance when you come to do your payment summaries you do not have this PSAR, we need to make sure that you've upgraded and that it's upgraded correctly. The other thing will be is that it will separate each year depending on what year you're doing payments. As you can see, there's the 2017 at the end of the file name on this one, and it actually will go into the company that automatically go into the company that you're creating this file from. All right. So I'm just thinking if there's anything else in this area. No. All right. So what I want to do then is have a look at a little bit more closely what needs to be done. So fringe benefits tax needs to be put in everything dated prior to the 31st of March 2017 for it to come up on your payment summaries. If you have working holiday makers, then that will came in effect from the 1st of January, so you'll have to do that. If there is anybody that has working holiday makers, we can talk about it later outside of this session, and make sure that you have the transactions in there. It does historically go back and find all the appropriate transactions for this and update it so the system takes care of it. the area that I want to really look at and concentrate on will be to actually look at the reconciliation. The reports that you should be looking at is printing trial balances, payment summaries, leave balances, pay cost allowances if you've got a lot of cost centres that you are working with, the superannuation summary report, and the PAYG for BAS. Now, what I want to cover with this is that, give me a second. Okay, if we take a look at the trial balance, if we take a look at the trial balance, actually I might just use the general ledger report, that's what I wanted to. Okay. If you print it as a summary, it will give a summarised version of all the balances in your general ledger account in the system as it was to go across to the general ledger, and give you the totals that should actually be as totals in your GL to balance against.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
Now.
Okay. Thanks for that.
So, PAYG for BAS. Okay, this will give you the amount of tax that you should have in your PAYG account in the general ledger. It includes all the extra tax, and to verify that, all the extra components, you can actually then print the deductions, deduction history, and what it allows you here is you'll see that if you are actually have any extra tax components, it will split it out and show you all the components. Now this database doesn't have any, and as we saw on the previous report, it didn't show anything in the extra tax boxes. All right. Now, for reportable superannuation, there's a couple of important things to remember. One is that you've actually got your extra super actually ticking your RESC box, because if you don't have this ticked, you will not have the reportable superannuation coming through on your payment summaries. So, to make sure that you have actually got every component ticked, either if you don't have a lot of super items, you can go through one by one, or you can actually come into the reports area and print the superannuations report, and that will then show you all your super accounts, and what you see, the last item shows you whether you have your RESC tick box actually selected. Once you've actually verified that you have your reportable super selected, then what you can do is just have a look at your super summary report, and that will actually then give you the super that you should expect in your general ledger account as far as your superannuation expense is concerned, and what you expect to have as far as salary sacrifice. So the employer contribution is the only amount that is going into the super expense account, And the combination of the two, the salary sacrifice and the employer contribution, would have gone through the liability account. You have to make sure that your setup does not have salary sacrifice going through the expense account unless you're doing journals, because it is not a company expense, it's a deduction out of people's salaries. Right, now, if we actually take a look at the reconciliation for the gross wages, then what we can do is have a look at the pay summary report. Come out of that. I do have notes for this, so if I'm moving a little bit fast, I have actually put stuff together for you to be able to go through this later a little bit slower. Wrong one. Never pick the right one of these. Okay, this is the one I wanted. All right, so to do the reconciliation, what you need to be careful is how have you actually set up your general ledger, because your gross taxable here actually includes your leave taken, because gross taxable is what you have paid your employees. So that number there does include leave taken. The area that you have to be aware of is that that is probably going to be going through your leave expense account. When you're actually looking at your balance in the general ledger, the leave taken component needs to come out of this figure, and you need to add the taxable, non-taxable allowances, and the post-deductions also need to go into that gross taxable amount to balance back to what's in your general ledger when you actually are trying to reconcile back. Here you have your PAYG total amount of tax. That should match up with what we were looking at on the PAYG for BAS, and it will tie back with what you've actually posted to the GL in the general ledger report. The other component which actually matches through here is your net pay, which is what you'll see on the general ledger report for the net wages. The report screen has these report options buttons. Things to remember is that when you're reporting your payment summaries, it is using the physical pay date, not the period end date, pay period end date, because it's about when you paid your employees, not what period they actually worked. So unless you are familiar with how you're doing your reporting, or your last day of your pay week is also your payment date, it's always a good idea to set this as your physical pay date. And it's the same thing for superannuation. You are remitting super as based on when you paid your employees, not when the pay period ended. The new area that has come in with the reporting is this Show Employer Super and the Non-Cash Benefits tick box to actually add the information onto your reporting. The other area that is new here is this Export to Excel. I'm adding this in now because this is a good report as an example of what's going on. This came in 2016.4, which was the mid-year update, but there's a few people that haven't actually had this update done, as it didn't have any statutory requirements within it. Oh, good. Okay. I'll do Okay. What it allows you to do is pick the fields you want to actually see in your report, and that will allow you to then export it out to Excel. So there's quite a few different things here, and it will do it on a nice flat table for you as compared to how that report, when we were looking at, had lines within one record. Okay, so what I want to do then is have a look at the superannuation. This report, oh, did we look at this? We did look at this. Okay, that's fine. We had the super contribution and salary sacrifice on this. All right. Okay, so I'm not sure how long ago it was. Can you show me the list of reports again? Let's have a look here. List of reports for the end of financial year or for a particular area? Okay, I'm not sure. All right, what I want to do now, end of financial year. All right. So what we've done is had a bit of a look at the trial balance. I'll go back to that now, and I have trial balance. All right. What we did see was the 5,441 for your super, the 5,100 for the additional super. We saw the net pay of 37,000, and here's our PAYG of 93, and the various deductions in there. Now, they should, to various degrees, match up with what is in your general ledger for these components. This 47,000 here has other components within it and doesn't match back with our reports. We have to actually add numbers in and out, unfortunately, because of the way it's chosen to be posted. The accruals are here. Long service leave looks like here's our provisions. Ah, that's right, we're going to leave. So, very, very important, end of financial year, must print leave balances report. It should be a report that you print every month because it is only an as-at report. It does not, you cannot do it retrospectively. The other thing that it is based on is the current salary of your employees. So what you've been accruing through your pays that you have actually been doing is the pay rate at the time of that employee. So the provision accounts have an estimate in it at the moment. What you do need to do is, one, have a look at your values and see that they're within the ballpark. If they're not within the ballpark, then you need to investigate why. Has somebody had a major pay increase, or is there something wrong? Has there been journals being done directly to those provision accounts? Why is it such a big difference? Generally, you'll be within a reasonable range, and if you're monitoring it month to month, you will be feeling how things are changing based on how your staff are changing. Definitely, if your accountant doesn't give you new correcting journals, you need to actually put in a journal between your expenses account and your liability account for leaves to balance up your provision account to this report, because at the end of the day, you are paying out leave at the pay rate your staff are on at this moment, not what they were on previously. So this report should be printed and or say stored, whatever, regularly so that you have a trackable record. That's what I wanted to bring in. Okay. Now, what I want to cover now is just a little bit in relation to, we've covered the actual changes to fringe benefits. We've covered the payment summaries. We've also looked at a little bit with the Excel reporting. What else has come in is that up here under reports, they've got this report views, and there's an additional view that is available now called leave balances. Employee list and pay list already existed up here as your buttons. Leave balances is new. So we now have a table-based view of the current leave status of people. What is new on all of these windows is this export option, which allows you to just export what you see on the screen or all the columns that are available to you when you do these views. To actually look at the column list, you've got that button there in the centre, and a usual ability to change the size of your columns and the export to Excel. These export to Excel buttons actually open up, opened up the actual application and brings it straight out onto the screen for you. Right. So pay list, I do like because I can go into my usual pay and show who has actually been paid during that time. And again, I can add on now these two new sections of taxable allowances and post-tax deductions. I generally also include my supers, which have been there for a little while. All right. Now, there is a change to Victoria has had a change to its payroll tax. The other states haven't as yet. If they will, depending on what the budget comes out. So once that comes around, you'll need to be aware of those changes and make the appropriate updates. Okay, so what we need to do is have a look at, payment summaries. Okay, so they're the extra changes that we've had. All right. So these are tables that will need to be updated to suit the new financial year. If we're doing the upgrades with you, then we'll remind you about these, and they're available in the release notes for this version. All right, so we've talked about the new list windows. We've talked about the reporting. Archiving companies. If you have old companies that you want to keep looking at but don't actually have any need to do transactions in, so that your licensing does not get affected by the employees, you now have the option to archive companies. I'm in demo companies, so I don't get the opportunity to actually go into those areas, but you can archive or unarchive your companies to stop the licensing. So if you've had a company where you've actually split and created a couple of new ones that are still related to the original, archive the old one, and then it won't impact on your number of employees paid in this current year. Okay. I'm thinking there's no more really to cover. I think we'll actually speak to if open for questions. So remember to unmute your phone or, yeah, let's do it that way. And if you have questions to ask, we'll see what we can do to cover them in this session. Anybody have any questions?
I'm wondering, how do we get a copy of the notes for the for actually doing our end-of-year process?
Okay. What I've walked through now, what I've talked through, I have in the notes, and what I'll do is I will get Megan to actually distribute them to the people that actually have been on the seminar today. If you've snuck in, and we're not, actually we do know because we've got you all registered, I'll get Megan to send them out. It's our good practice guide, and the other thing we also have, there's a updated checklist that we have as well for it.
Katie, another question. Yogesh from...
Hello, Yogesh.
How are you?
Good.
Yes, on the payment summary, there is a special feature where we write a type H or S. After the upgrade, whether we have to manually put S for the other staff, or it will automatically default?
It will automatically have the S there, because it knows the payment types that are being paid. If anybody actually has both exempt and non-exempt fringe benefits, for instance, it will issue 2 separate payment summaries automatically for that employee, and same with the holiday maker workers, or whatever, I forget now. That will, if there's people that have been working prior to the 1st of January and post 1st of January, it will issue 2 separate payment summaries.
That's good. Thanks for that.
Kathy?
Yeah.
Just a question, because I got in late on this webinar. We, being not-for-profit, we have to include the grossed-up fringe benefits on their payment summary. Did you cover that earlier in the seminar?
No, I didn't go into how to actually do the actual fringe benefits, because a lot of it is really a matter of the individual companies knowing what they need to, how they need to actually prepare it.
Well, I know what the grossed up amounts are. It's a matter of being able to put in the adjustments so it appears as a grossed up amount in the particular right spot on their payment summary.
Right.
So there is an adjustment in other systems that you have to do that with.
Okay. Well, when you actually are doing fringe benefits, you're doing them as one-off pays.
Okay.
And the actual setup of those are within the system under here under non-cash benefits. And it actually comes in here, and depending on whether it's grossed up or not, you pick your type 1 or your type 2. And when you actually, and then when you pay people the one-off pays, as making sure that it's everything's dated prior to the 31st of March, it will then process that and add it to the payment summaries and put it into the box that, I can get back to it. No. Let me have a go back. That's the one I want. And then add it into the fringe benefits box for that employee.
Yep.
And if we need to, we can go through that separately.
Yeah, okay. Not a problem.
Who am I speaking with?
Aileen.
Oh, Aileen. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Not a problem. I'll have a look at that and contact you if I need extra help.
Okay, cool.
Yep. Thank you.
Anybody else with questions?
Yes, Katie, I got another question. You talk about RESC under super maintenance screen. That is applied to only salary sacrifice or the normal super as well?
Anything that's over and above the superannuation, which is the super guarantee. So any additional contributions above the 9.5%, because that goes to your 35, to then your extra 35,000 or whatever is now the limit for additional super contributions over the year.
Okay.
Now, how to run PAYGB summaries? That's meant to be PAYG summaries, okay. So when you're actually doing your actual PAYG, oh, no, cancel. Everything is actually covered within the reports area. And there's this payment summaries tab. And you have your individual non-business, your employment termination, and the actual electronic file. I can't go all the way through, but here is the actual screen. So you put in your 010716617, and generally you'd put all your employees into it. And down here, you can view it to screen and check that it's as you require, and then you have your opportunity to distribute it by email to your employees. As the and putting in your contact name, who's registered for signing the payment summaries, and their details here. That is, you don't physically need to sign them, and then you click on your distribute. And that'll come up with a screen with all the names of the people. Then once you're happy with what you've prepared and sent it to your employees, you then can come back here, make sure you do your employment, your ETP stuff, and again you get to distribute them, view them, and then you produce your actual file, again putting in the correct date range, and it's going to be the PSAR file, again having your contact details in here, and create the file. So everything comes out of this reporting area under payment summaries. Anything else? Yeah?
It's Shona. So this is the first time I'll be doing this.
Mm-hmm.
So all those steps of actually how to do it are within the notes?
The actual, I'm just having a quick look. Yes, it does go through the order that you need to do them and what you need to cover off. It also has at the back the actual, pardon me, the actual reconciliation work as well.
Excellent, thank you.
Is there anything else?
Sorry, it's Andrew from Helping Hands. Just with the notes that you're sending through in the reconciliations, that will obviously show us all the reports, all the tie-ups, so we can make sure that they do total and we can check back to the BASs, correct?
I don't have the actual components of the general ledger, but I do have the reporting and boxes to look at for the various reports, yes.
Okay, thank you.
If there's nothing else, then we can say goodbye, and then we can go the normal process as support. Remembering that the help files within XO Business and the release notes are all available on the MYOB website, which are accessible out of the help here. There's the Education Centre and the help. Remembering that, there we go, let's bring that over here. Here we have help files direct, and also the release notes of the various versions. When you're looking at features of the system, or bring in this 2016-4 as well to look at, not just the 2017, because this version here had all the extra new Excel file stuff in it and some more things about the views. So look at the two of them in combination if you want to just refresh your mind as to features available now. And there's user guides. Is there any white papers? There's a few white papers here about paid parental leave and changing leave entitlements. Oh, that looks old. So that'll keep you actually interested in plenty of reading at this time of the year. All right, so I think we'll wrap it up and we can meet back on the support desk at a later time if you have further questions. All right. Have a good day, everybody.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.